Filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear. Now is that day. Humble your hearts to God. Save from the chastening wrong. Seek the way pilgrims trod. Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon. Morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound.
Thanks for sharing your time with us today. The next few minutes are going to be a very special time because we have an expert with us today, and it's his first time to be here and dealing with young people and teenagers. And this expert I'm talking about is Captain Gordon Howey. Did I say your name right?
Yes,
Gordon?
sir, you did.
I did. And he is the captain over Youth Services Division of Metropolitan Police Department. He knows about young people, and he knows about the conflict that young people and the hard times some young people are going through. And so we're going to try to visit with him and get him talking about our young people, and hopefully we can say some things that will help some parents take note and make them aware of some things to be looking for and improve the quality of life of our children. I believe, Captain, that every child needs a safe home to lay down and go to sleep in, and to be a safe place. And we have a lot of children in our city that don't have that luxury. They live in fear. And what has been your experience? What do you see is the number one, number two, or number three, if you could have a wish list as captain over youth services? Now, youth services used to be youth guidance in years gone by,
it
right?
did.
Yeah, that's
It
when
did.
I was back in the day. I was working on the street. It was youth guidance.
Right.
A lot of help out of youth guidance.
Right.
Boy, y'all really helped me back in those days. You work close with juvenile court.
Yes, sir.
If you had a wish list, what would it be? What would be number one on your wish list? Is that a fair question?
That's a fair question, and I don't know if I can encompass that in 30 minutes worth of a program, but I agree with you wholeheartedly about, every child deserves a safe home, and certainly it may not be the best of circumstances, it may not be lavish and filled with all the things that money could buy, but if it's a safe, loving home, I think every child deserves that. And unfortunately,
And they're blessed.
Exactly. And unfortunately, certainly that's not the case. And I don't know, when you start thinking about wish list and what one could do to try to combat that, that's just a really tough question when you start thinking about it, because I believe, at least in my 26 years of being on this police department and some of the things that I've seen.
You've seen a lot, haven't you?
I have.
Does it ever get under your skin to where you can't sleep at night?
I've been pretty lucky about that. There've been a few things that have bothered me along the way, but for the most part, because you go out, and I think the men and women of the police department share the exact same thoughts that I do, is that you try to go out and you do your best and you try to help people, and as long as you know at the end of your shift that you've done everything that you can to try to help somebody, that's really all you can do.
You can only do what you can do.
Yes, sir.
But I understand that. I understand that.
And when I think about safe homes and situations like that, I think a common denominator that I have seen in my experience always comes back to, what does that home look like? What kind of parental involvement is there? And unfortunately, we've got a lot of kids who have parents that have issues of their own, or they're absent, no parent. And so those are the kids
that got a bunch of parents. A lot of our kids have parents that are just a bunch of crazy people.
Correct.
They're on
Correct.
drugs. And well, once you get on drugs, they're all messed up. I'm proud to hear you say that. Because I set you up, really. I didn't intend to. But when he got into it, I thought, I should have given him heads up, but I don't ever give anybody heads up. And I've met you before. We've had lunch together.
Yes,
and we've got a good friend, Michael Alexander, Captain Alexander, used to be commander of the South, and he switched over to Special Forces.
Specialized Investigations Division.
Y'all got all these titles, man. Y'all just confused me, man. But, if I was going to pick one thing right now and somebody asked me, because I've thought about this a lot, is I'd say I wished every child had a loving father. Mm-hmm. It amazes me, Captain, how when daddy's not in that home, or daddy is there and he's on drugs, or he's more interested in a video game than he is nurturing his children, that damages children for a lifetime, that it seems like I can never get them healed. With all I do, it seems like I never can get them healed to where I would like for them to be.
And I think that goes on beyond a child's life into early adulthood and then later on in life. I know some people that I've become acquainted with over the years that never had that father figure, and they can be in my age. I'm about to be 48 and still struggle with the fact that they didn't have that parent. And I've actually seen on both sides in that someone didn't have a mother involved. And I think probably the most difficult part about that, I guess it's one thing if you, unfortunately, you have a parent pass away. But when you know you got a parent out there that didn't want to have anything to do with you, and
that's what hurts.
Yep, they're still walking the earth. That causes a lot of struggle in folks' lives.
My father died when I was 13, but he died, you know, and so I mean he's dead, so I can't do anything about it. Pick up the pieces and go on, you know, and so, but boy, I can't imagine. And I've raised a lot of foster children, and they've been deserted, and boy, that's tough to overcome. And a lot of the children I work with in the inner city, they just build a wall around themselves to protect themselves from taking in new information, and so therefore they don't learn when they go to school. They do not develop relationships and don't know how to develop relationships, and they just have such a struggle. And then they go to school and teachers sitting there trying to reach out to them, and the teacher's overwhelmed. And so by the time they get to you or to your officers in the school, and all, they already so angry. They don't care if you lock me up or not. This is a long time ago, and I shouldn't tell this on television. We had no boy breaking our house, and one of my other daughters and her husband was visiting, and we were sitting in the living room visiting, sitting and talking, and my wife heard a noise, and this old boy had broken the back of the house, and he hid in a closet. Well, old Sandra walked in there, and she realized there's somebody in that closet, man. So she put a pistol on him and said, "Come out of there," you know. And the boy looked up at her and said, and Sandra she has such an outreach for people, and he looked up at her and he said, "Go and shoot me anyway. Just go and shoot me." And he was so beat down. And so she marched him into us, and I sat him down and talked to him. I said, "Why are you breaking the house?" Blah, 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 blah. He knew one of my other children, and he just didn't have nowhere to go. And wound up taking the kid home, meeting his mother, and we got to work with him quite a bit after that. But his attitude, "Gonna shoot me anyway." And that's where a lot of our kids are. They've given up. And the churches have got to get involved. The police can only do so much. Churches have got to get out of the church house and get out in the community and work with the police department. And I want to thank you at Metro Police working with Nashville Inner City Ministry. We've had a great relationship working together. And it's really been a blessing to us.
Oh, I think so. I think it's been a tremendous benefit for the community as well. And of course, you know that we have long known as a police department that faith-based effort in the communities is y'all can touch many more people than we can, and so it's important for us to always have that connection and to make sure that we're doing everything we can because it's mutual. And you can take it from a law enforcement perspective and think that, you know, police are all about writing tickets, stopping cars, arresting folks, things like that, but I believe that our police department, and has for many years, is that we try to do everything that we can from a preventative standpoint. And this thing of criminal justice and law enforcement is a much bigger ball than just making arrests. Now that's a big major component of it, but if we're going to ever do anything to keep Nashville safe, kids safe, then it takes everybody in the community to kind of work toward that endeavor. And
we got to work together.
Absolutely.
For the betterment of the child.
Exactly.
When I hear somebody come on and they see it on broadcast, they'll come on the news and they'll say they'll be critical of the mayor trying to put more money behind the police department, trying to put more tax money. And I'd have people come talk to me, and they'll be upset with, you know, taxes and so forth. Well, I'm upset with taxes, but I tell you what, we can't cut police officers. We got to have police officers. There was a time, and I really salute you guys. There was a time when I was in ministry, when I started years and years ago. You were still in high school, I guess. I didn't want to identify with the police because some of the police officers on the street were just sorry. And they abused people. They abused their power. And so I wouldn't have anything to do with them. I wouldn't even talk to them. I just ignore them. And then came surpass. And that's when I saw the thing change. And he had that philosophy of let's get out, get to know the neighbors, get to know the people. We are neighbors in the community. And of course, Chief Anderson pushed that on.
Absolutely.
And now, man, my people, they look to police officers different. The generations growing up, they look to police officers being their friend. And we need that. Our children need that.
Absolutely. And I think that we've spent a tremendous amount of effort to try to get officers, and we do, you know, when we take our recruits and train them, we train them the importance of the community, and we are wholeheartedly involved in the community policing philosophy. And so we train folks on that and realize that it used to be many years ago the stigma between police and community, and that you know, these were our enemies, and thankfully we realized that was not the case. It's a small percentage of the population that commits the crimes that we have to deal with all the time. Most everyone else is good. They're just like any of the rest of us, and they're just trying to live a decent life. And so once we got that figured out as a profession, law enforcement everywhere, then we saw some tremendous results from that. And Chief Anderson, like you said, Chief Surpass did a good thing. Chief Anderson's taken that and moved forward with it, and really that's the philosophy of the police department.
He's a great administrator, Anderson, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
He is good.
Oh, he's
really good. Our kids, what do you see us doing? What are some of the things? Hey, let's go this way. Let me ask this question. Like, say it's a mother here and she's got a middle schooler. He's getting rebellious. Is there anything that she can do by calling the police department to get help with that child? Is there any steps there?
There is. And that's one of the things that we do in the Youth Services Division. Now, most of the folks that we encounter, it's generally after a child has received a citation for a status offense, you know, possessing, smoking tobacco or things such as that, or skipping school, that type of thing. So we take those and we start contacting parents, or the parents contact us, and then we try to find what's going on in that family, and then where can we find a service for them to help improve that, what's going on in that home, to try to help keep this kid from getting in further trouble. So that's one thing. But our division, the Youth Services Division, we're open to anyone calling us at any time. Now, we're not a 24-hour operation. People can call and leave a message, but if there's somebody that's having an issue with a child and they need some assistance, they can certainly call us. We have 3 case managers, counselors in our office, and so they're there to help families and children and try to do what we can to marry them up with some services that might benefit them. And of course, we work real close with the Department of Children's Services and Juvenile Court, so there's some things that we can do there. But one of the things too is our number is 862-7417.
862-7417.
And if somebody were to call in, all they'd have to do is say, hey, I'm having some issues with a child, can I talk to one of the case managers? And we'll try to make that happen. While we're talking about that, one of the programs that we've had that's been very successful, and we're in our 15th session of this program, it's called the Strengthening Families Program. And again, it's a child that's received a juvenile citation. Generally, these kids have not had any real serious infractions. They're doing some minor things.
Mischievous.
Yeah, being a little mischievous. And we get with the parent or guardian, whoever happens to be in that home, and they have to agree to this. And then we bring the kid and the child, and the parent and guardian together, and we do some training. This last, I believe it's about 10 weeks, one night a week, and we teach the kids about parents. We teach the parents about kids, and then how to be better parents, with the whole goal.
That's it.
With the whole goal of trying to strengthen that family and keep that kid out of trouble. And so far, out of all off the top of my head, I don't remember how many folks we put through it. It's been a bunch. But it's success stories, one right after the other. And you hear parents saying, you know, this was a really great educational opportunity for me. Now I understand my child better. Now I know how to be a better parent. I know that I need to listen to certain things. I know I need to spend time with my child, and vice versa. The kids, and generally these are kids anywhere from about 9 years old up to about 13, And then oh, now I know why mom did this or dad did that. Now I know, and the peer pressure that goes on in school, I need to stay away from that. So that's one of the things that we do.
I'm going to have to run this one. We're going to do this because we've talked about it. Inner City is buying a new facility.
Yes, sir.
And this is going to be a real shot in the arm for the city of Nashville. This thing is built, and it's 90,000 square feet. We're going to put in that, we're going to have 6 classrooms. They're the size of a half of a basketball court, pretty close. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the master teacher program where you have one teacher and set people at tables. Now what we were talking about, working inner city and metro police working together, we can bring families together and let the families sit at the table, put one of your experts at the front of the class, and we can help people understand their role as a parent. Now I'm finding this out with our parents. We've got parents that's grown up riding our buses. But they've heard so much, heard lawsuits, they've heard getting their children taken away from them. They don't know how to sort through all this stuff. It's hard to sort through all this when you've got 4 or 5 kids chasing after you and you're a single parent. And so if we can get them at a table and say, no, your mother's job is to, or your father's job is to discipline you, but it needs to be done this way and this way and that stuff, and that's going to work. And when we start working together at that level with what you've already, the expertise you've already got, and we get that facility and we bring them in, I tell you, Captain, some good things going to happen in Nashville, Tennessee.
I agree.
It's going to be a blessing to us. It's going to be a blessing to our children.
And you know, the thing when we talk about parents, being a parent myself, you don't go to a class to learn how to be a parent. And generally what you do is you emulate how you grew up and how your parents treated you. And of course, if they treated you bad, then you know, well, I don't do that. And sometimes I've seen some cases that for whatever reason, because that's all this person knows, they end up doing what is not appropriate. But so it's kind of funny, you know, you got to have and I'm not advocating for anything, but just having a conversation. You got to take a test to drive a car.
Yeah.
You know, you go through school, you got to take tests, but there's nothing about being a parent. There's no, and of course, obviously, if you as a parent want to seek out training and education and how can I be a better parent.
And we need to do that.
Right, but there's nothing out there really that says, and folks are becoming parents each and every day.
A good friend of mine, it was a chaplain at juvenile court back years gone by. He's passed away now, Ed Hunley. And I asked go ahead one day, he was reading books. And I said, well, why are you and Diane always reading books on how to raise children? And he said, well, I knew I was raised up the wrong way. I got to learn how to raise up the right way. And that's always stuck in my mind. He raised great kids. And but he was a great chaplain at juvenile court. He'd work with kids, and he loved them, and he worked with them big. But it is about training. And you know, Captain, what I've seen so many parents, and I don't say this to parents, we think for some reason or other when we start having children that we can stop taking in new information. And brother, it just started. It just started. You're not too old to ever take in new information. I'm getting to be an old man, and I'm constantly taking in new information because we're living in a fast world.
Yes, sir.
It's not out on Grandpa's farm no more. I mean, things are happening with the media, the internet, the bullying in school. I bet you're seeing a lot of bullying in school now, and it can destroy children's lives, and it doesn't help anybody. And we got to teach our children to stay away from bullying.
Right.
One of mine ran into it the first day of school, ran into it the first day, and just drew the line real quick and throwed the gauntlet down. We're not gonna have that behavior in this classroom. And the bullies backed out and went on. And so we got to teach our children to stand up for each other.
Absolutely.
And care about each other.
Absolutely.
How many people you have in your department?
In the youth services division, there are 24. Now I've got 14 detectives, and those detectives investigate. The crimes that we investigate, I've got 4 folks that handle runaway and missing kids, and they also do some work with when you have the folks that might be cruising up and down the street and they see a child standing out at the bus stop. Hey, how you doing? You want to come over here to the car? So they handle those type cases. The other detectives, we handle all child deaths from 13 years of age and younger. And then when they're over 13, we work with the individual precincts. A lot of times we'll end up with them, it depends. But we do not do the child sex abuse. That's out of our sex abuse unit.
Is that the one, is Michael over that now?
Talking about Mike Alexander? No, that's Preston Brandamore's the captain over the Criminal Investigations Division where the sex abuse unit is housed.
Okay.
So we don't do the child sex abuse. We do work with them from time to time on certain things, but pretty much all the crimes that occur on school property, to and from school, bus stops, we handle and investigate. So you name it within that. Some of the things, robberies, for example, precincts handle, but most of the time, anything that involves 13 and under, we're going to handle. In addition to that, like I mentioned earlier, got the 3 case managers, counselors that handle those duties with the strengthening families. Every child that's issued...
That's preventative maintenance.
Yes,
right
sir.
there.
Every child that's issued a juvenile citation has to call in Davidson County, has to call the Youth Services Division, so those counselors handle all those citations. And then I have a support staff of other civilian employees to compromise that total number, and they handle a lot of different admin functions.
We've trained our children to try to be aware of what's around them.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking home from school, if a single individual in a car, usually a male,
Mm-hmm.
if he's driving real slow and looking, and you can tell, I'll drive by a group of kids and I'm looking for my daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and well, that's not her, but I could be, I try now to make it very aware when I'm doing, hey, oh no, speed
Mm-hmm.
on, let the kids know, but it's important to know the kids in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And the night out against crime that they just had here in town when we were taping this show, that's important for neighbors to know neighbors, and we know the children and all the parents. We need to know the children in our neighborhood, and we know the people that they run with. So Gene Stallin said one time, he was in a lecture, and he said, know the children's parents that your children run with.
Exactly.
And I thought that was good advice.
Yeah. And and of course, time has changed. As I grew up, and I grew up here in Nashville, I can remember a time and that's exactly what happened. My parents knew, the kids that I ran with, they knew all the parents, and so I could be out in the neighborhood and do something. If another parent saw me doing it, well, they'd snatch me up.
Yes.
And then they'd, and then take you back home, and then you got in trouble there. And which, if you think about society then and how it is nowadays, if a parent did that, the actual parent of the child, but don't you get onto my child? That's
I hear that all the time. Don't be talking about my kid.
Right.
Don't be doing anything.
And so, just talking about how things have changed over the years.
Yeah. And that's why we have to take in more information. We had 2 little kids. This happened, I guess it was 8 years ago, at church one Sunday. We had a big crowd, and 2 little boys, that was about the 5th grade, I guess. They got in a fight. Man, they was going at it. And this mama run out in the middle of the fight and grabbed that kid in the seat of right in the belt. And she got a hold to him and she said, I got mine, you get yours. And this other woman come waiting in, and I thought, that's fixed, don't have to worry about that. Yeah. She taught him there's proper behavior, and this is not appropriate behavior. Right. And I thought she did a very good job communicating with him.
Exactly.
He wasn't fighting next Sunday, let me tell you. He was sitting down. But we have so many children hurting. What about people that see something that they're concerned about a child in the community? They see something, they see a child that's been jovial and happy, and then all of a sudden they're recluse and quiet and they're afraid something. What can they call your people and get your people to check in on that child?
Absolutely. They can certainly give us a call at the number that I provided. Anytime anyone sees something they're uncomfortable with, they can always call 862-8600, which is the dispatch line, and report that. There is another, and I know some folks may be a little bit concerned about doing this, but you can always contact the Department of Children's Services if you see something with a child that you think they may be living in an unclean home, or some sort of conditions or things are not being met. And we work with DCS daily. We have one of the folks from Department of Children's Service comes to our office 3 times a week. We go over the referrals that they get in, and we look to see, is this something that may be a police matter? Is this something that just may need some services? And so we want to try to be abreast of everything that's going on with the child in this county to see if there's something that we can do. But certainly, folks see something just doesn't look right, they can contact us at the number I gave earlier, the 862-7417, and we'll see what we can do.
Churches need to get involved.
Yes, sir.
They need to get out of the pews, get out in the community where children are, and then do things for children. And I can tell you something, the children are going to break your buildings, they're going to break chairs, they're going to tear stuff up because they're children. I mean, that's what children do. But if we own something that's so precious that it's too good for a child to sit on, we done wasted our money and bought the wrong thing. We need to take that thing down and give it to the inner city thrift store and put some furniture in it we can use. We need to be, because children are very important.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate y'all's effort in working with them. As our children get into serious trouble, what you don't handle them, you turn them over to, how's that work? If a child does something that's serious and you investigate it, do you turn it over to DA then, or how does that work out?
Well, it would depend upon what type of crime it is. Generally, if we've investigated something and it rises to the level that somebody needs to be...
it is criminal.
It is criminal in nature, and a child needs to have further consequences. So we consult with the DA's office on a regular basis, and then at times we'll go down to juvenile court and obtain an arrest order and get a petition on the child and have the child picked up and detained. But we do work real close with the district attorney's office in that regard.
Nashville's a good community, isn't it, Captain?
Yes, sir. I agree.
We can make it a better community if we get involved, more people get involved and help the police department. The police department's doing their job. We as a community can do more by getting involved and helping people do more, I think. Y'all will come out and speak to churches and,
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
help them get involved with you and work. So I think, is there anything, we ain't got but a minute to go, is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
No, sir, I can't think of anything other than we're here to help, and
People
feel
don't
free.
understand that.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of people that don't understand, and when they say you see something, call it in. And I know how people feel. I think, well, you know, that guy's swerving all the road. I need to call that in. Well, maybe not. Maybe, well, and then it nearly hits somebody else.
That's
you know?
right.
Get on the telephone, call them, tell them where you are.
Absolutely.
And let a zone car ease in there and put the lights on them.
We'll do what we can.
And it's important to know. I've told it I got to go, we're out of time, but I had some officers at my house one day, was out in the yard, and they pulled a kid up and put him against the car, and they was frisking him down, talking to him, and I left and went on in the house. In a few minutes, somebody knocked on my door, and it was those officers. They come back and said, we wanted to explain what was going on.
Good.
And I thought that was great police
That's
work.
good. That's what they should
Captain,
do.
thanks for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And folks, if you need to talk to anybody, need to report anything, you need help, it's 862-7417, and you ask for a case manager, and they will help you with your situation. You're part of our community, you're part of our city, and we want you to enjoy being here.
Troublesome times are here, feeling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. Humble your hearts to God, save from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away. My Jesus is coming soon, morning or night or noon. Many will meet their doom. Trumpets will sound, and all of the dead shall rise. Righteous me in the sky. I'm going where no one dies, heavenward bound. Well, troubles will soon be o'er, happy forevermore. When we meet on that shore, free from all care. Rising up in the sky, telling this world